You know, it occurs to me that if I make, well, if since I'm using the custom item I'm using, and Future Jordan uses the thumbnail correctly, oh my goodness, I stumbled all over my words, then it's gonna be strange for me to use it. Also, I'm gonna be doing an errand run, and at least 2 runs is the idea, unless I just one-shot this errand run. The reason why I'm so scared of Aaron here is because as the item may have shown, I think we're on Curious Birthmark, I'm going crazy. Yeah, we're going to be using a custom item. So, for timestamp's sake, as we get into Aaron Curious Birthmark custom character once more, I didn't use the different graphics, so, but we do have a weapon that we're going to be using. So, it is what it is. I think I tried to make it as accurate as possible, because funny enough, you'll get some sprinkled in facts of behind the scenes here and there, but yeah, there are some few details here and there that I needed to make sure I got when I was making the item. Light, knowledge, Takshi-san, strength, second encounter, and maybe a dexterity check, but otherwise we shouldn't be taking more than 6 stamina damage. But again, only Aaron will allow that. I forgot if Aaron can actually increase or decrease stats. I think Aaron can. But yeah, I guess I'll find out later. So, but the most harmful thing Aaron is going to do to me is get rid of, or make my action speed slower. So Flood, Household Hell, Recluse, Orphan, Feet. So yeah, we need to take Flood, Recluse, and Feet first. The question is, well, I already have a weapon. I guess we might as well go Recluse. And you'll notice that this axe actually has 12 base damage. I did consider giving it just 8, but then I figure it has there are some, big downsides to it if RNG allows, and since that already does a thing, also Aaron is not rolling for some reason. That is interesting. I wonder why Aaron is not rolling any effects. Well, either way, that's really interesting though. I wonder why that's happening. I actually wonder why that is happening, but we'll continue onward. So be it, I guess. I know I did some directory/folder movements here and there, but I didn't really think it was going to affect anything. Unless it doesn't happen during Recluse, which I guess would be. I guess we'll see. We're going to keep this video because that's going to be interesting. Not that anything's wrong with the Old God or Perm in general. I'm just trying to consider what is happening. So again, if nothing else, this video is for myself. But yeah, against ghost enemies, we get 8 damage per sever, which is 16 damage. However, with Curious Birthmark, pain. Also, we do have 2 stacks of Blood Frenzy, 1 from the character herself, and 1 from equipping the Mysterious Axe, which I actually should have noted here as an effect, but I didn't, so shrug. Otherwise, Flood, Hell, and Feet. I think we just immediately go into Flood next. And try our best to survive. We should be able to survive because again, so talking about this weapon in particular, even though we're doing a bunch of damage right now, the primary downside to it is if anything messes with your action speed, whether it's stats or just action speed directly, you have a much harder time usually, even though you do still get 12 base damage. You really want to be able to 2-turn with this weapon, and that's why the other stack of Blood Frenzy exists. I think it's working correctly, by the way, Blood Frenzy. But yeah, the other stack of Blood Frenzy exists because you're taking more damage if you don't, usually 2-shot, but sometimes, as you saw, 1-shot an enemy. So, yeah, it's really important to be able to do that, because otherwise you will be taking a lot more damage. Again, the character herself, this weapon is meant for this character herself, so really you want to make sure that you can one-shot everything, but if you're in a boss, as you can see, yeah, we take more damage. Now that being said, we have the Theologist, that's why we're taking less damage, but it's still not great. Double Paranoia, by the way. And that does stack. Paranoia and Suicidal are curses that apparently stack. I never tested that out, but I believe it. So yeah, Hard Knock, and I think we also have the Sharpening Stone, but we didn't get that because any extra point of damage is essentially. So this, I want to say that I thought out this the gameplay design of this character and then adding anything from Perm somewhat well, because again, getting extra instances of damage, especially with Blood Frenzy. And yes, I could just get rid of Blood Frenzy. However, the thing about that is, I mean, all you'd really be doing, until we don't have any positive effects for getting rid of curses, I'm pretty sure, unless I'm wrong. But even with that, 3 stamina damage per Blood Frenzy removal is not very great. Now, of course, if it stops you from dying, sure, but it depends on the situation, because usually without 2 stacks of Blood Frenzy, our prep strong, or strong attacks in general, would be doing 18 HP, so that pretty much 2-shots nearly any enemy. However, as you've seen, if you can one-shot an enemy, you might as well keep Blood Frenzy, and that's kind of the more the positives of Blood Frenzy rather than anything else. So for example, here I probably should have gotten rid of Blood Frenzy. Also, why am I taking less damage right now? Is Blood Frenzy working correctly? Because we should be receiving more damage, but apparently we're not. So, unless we're mitigating damage somewhere else. We nearly one-shot that enemy, by the way, but if we had Sharpening Stone, we would have been able to. There's a tactical reason why I gave this character Blood Frenzy, but if we're not taking more damage, then we have to, I have to think of something else, but yeah, anywho. There's something else I could be talking about, but I'm forgetting at the moment. So I am kind of just stalling for time while I'm trying to think of what I forgot about. But at the same time, again, just starting with the weapon, as I always mention, even if this axe does not allow for a reliable 1-turn, even 2-turning is still more than enough. It's just that there will be, you can't just keep getting smacked every single time. You do eventually want to mitigate damage somewhere. That being said, as I just mentioned, again, I feel like I'm just taking less damage because of Blood Frenzy. If that encounter were instead doing 3-all, or the previous one as well was also doing 3-all, we would be in a lot worse of a situation. We would have 2 reason right now and 5 stamina, which again opens you up to event RNG and being oofed there. But as we move on, I might as well take Orphan now. I usually take Household Hell 4th, but I just want to get Orphan out of the way. Sharpening Stone, please. Okay. Honor Your Own also helps out, but that's really only for the other side. So the other side of this character and this axe, if I ever decide to release the axe, you know, as a kind of bonus, I usually do. I have been doing that for Perm, but yeah, I think it's somewhat thought out. Now, it's probably still going to be used in most situations assuming that we have this axe, but again, there are runs in which it will be a lot less viable, as odd as that sounds. And yes, you would be doing prep attack, but you still run into issues. An example is Zictas, just in general. This axe was designed speed-wise to account for pretty much 7 to 8 strength. If you don't have minimum 7 strength, you're not able to prep strong, and so therefore you probably just end up taking a turn of damage. And again, assuming that these Blood Frenzy stacks are working as intended, yeah, you're taking a lot more damage than the damage you deal, because there are weapons that are like at 4 base damage, 5 base damage that you can 2-turn perfectly fine, or even just brace because they're faster, obviously, than 120 plus speed weapon. And yeah, you would be able to brace. Even if you have 2 stacks of Blood Frenzy, being able to brace and then 2-turn is very important. The other way of saying it is that if you're going to 2-turn with a slow weapon that does a lot of damage, but you can do the same with a faster weapon, theoretically speaking, that slower weapon is weaker. And to note, yeah, we do run into an issue. So, funny enough, I didn't allow this item to be this weapon to be thrown, but on throw damage, I think I coded it to do 15 damage when thrown. So, with that said, I think we can just do prep attack here and be perfectly fine, because this does at least 24 damage for sure. But, again, if you're at that, well, that is very, very powerful. I will say, like, 80% of the time you'll be just fine. But the times in which you are still desperate struggling against everything, and then you run into events because you only have 3 reason, or 3 stamina, or both, you can just lose to events. So you have to, there's still a inherent trade-off, as is most of the time when you are at 3 stamina or 3 reason and below. And if you notice here, again, this was kind of intended as well. If you have about 7 or 8 strength, you are barely able to brace into an attack. In fact, you can't even brace attack with 7th strength. I don't think you can even do it with 8th strength. So this is it's intended for you to level up so you can do things like this. And even then, because this axe has very low accuracy, if I had to show you right here, its chance to hit is 50, which is very, very low. So again, you are dealing with a lot trying to get this weapon to work. If you happen to be slowed, if you happen to be at low HP, and you're taking a bunch of damage because you have Blood Frenzy. And so you're meant to increase strength, which, I mean, you're normally doing anyway. Well, I would advise players normally do. We actually might lose this run, but yeah, we'll find out. So yeah, Aaron is not working correctly. I wonder why that is happening the way it is. I'm going to take a quick look, but then we will do our second run, and it will actually be an Aaron run, because again, Aaron throws a lot of monkey wrenches into the mix, figuratively speaking. And we actually died because of RNG. Yeah, I know our charisma's low, but come on now. Come on now, let's not try and lie to ourselves, but I'll be right back. Alright, testing things out. So, I just ended up downloading the custom old god again, but we will hit quick play just so we can see our backstory and other settings, which they're all being flipped into medical history. So, medical history could go well, but again, all it takes is one hit, and as I mentioned earlier, the whole problem with the axe, even though it's a very powerful weapon, don't get me wrong, it's probably like at least at over the 75th percentile if we're using vocab here as we get into medical history with 3 custom mysteries. But again, things can still go wrong. It's hard to really find, even with the katana I've shown, even though you will be very powerful with the katana, the mysterious axe is on the same line. However, you can still just like completely spaghetti a run. Light charisma, I'll explain later. Dexterity, knowledge, Takshisan, definitely, but maybe strength last? And away we go. And again, this weapon has a very high stat minimum to do certain things. Now, we are in random item stats, so the speed did get decreased, but I think the katana is like normally at around at least at most 100 speed or below. I can't remember. Either way, you do a lot of damage with it, and it does 9 damage. So you can imagine with a weapon that has a base of 12 damage, you can get a lot done. And in fact, you don't need to prep strong. It's just that I'm choosing to. Akamanto, this metamorphosis here does not have 3 i.e. custom mystery. So instead, Orphan, Colt, Shibas. So Colt, Metamorphosis, Akamanto. We'll do Akamanto first. And I forgot to fill the bottle, but that's fine for the moment. We'll visit History Club just to do so. Otherwise, let's put the police patrols in the school, because that max threat level school is not going to go well for me. I think we have another mystery in which we go to the school a lot. But anywho. So yeah, again, I don't know why Aaron was bugging out. All I really remember doing was basically changing the name of a folder directory just so that it wasn't included when I was doing Steam stuff. Because if you didn't already know, and this character included, I think by the time this video comes out, she'll be on the Steam Workshop as well. But she should definitely already also be on the Discord server if you want to play with version 1.01, which I recommend because, again, there are bugs on the beta branch. Hey, lo and behold, the beta branch has bugs. But more importantly, as our 8 luck on this character, yes, this character has 8 luck, but sadness happens. Yeah, as it turns out, the beta branch has bugs. Mostly, the one I remember the most is the forest. Investigations are pretty much, you have no variety. But the bigger one is if you use custom content and you fight an enemy linked to an event, you get just a bugged out event. Now, thankfully, it doesn't crash your game, but still, it is a little bit troublesome when enemies are supposed to proc, and instead you get pretty much you're fighting the air for nothing. Can we handcuff this? It would be nice. So yeah, that's if you're playing with custom content on the beta branch, I would highly not recommend that. I would advise you avoid doing so because you're not going to get the full immersive and gameplay balance-wise experience from custom content. But if you are going to be playing on the beta branch of Steam, just so for ease of access to workshop items, then the base content should do just well. It's just that if there are any linked events, yeah, you run into issues. So yeah, I can't figure out if this second stack of Blood Frenzy is really doing anything. I know there's one stack working, I think, and if it isn't, well, I guess let me know. But otherwise, also our strength is not high, so dodge actions are slower. Don't really care about dodge. It's our attacks that I'm going to be really And I think Aaron does have a specific effect for lowering the to increasing the speed of strong attacks. So we are getting a bunch of weapons as well. So, or a bunch of items as well. So we might as well grab some of this stuff. Also, I just realized we have a traumatized item, and I must have misnamed that while I was testing out the graphics. Because again, to complete most characters, at least for the last 4 characters-ish, I did end up the first videos I made on them for this made for them on this channel, they only had the low stamina, low reason graphics. So it's only afterward that I make the rest of the status effects. And so I must have kept the item tag on, say, a Crestfallen Mask, Caracasa Mask, or the Ritual Mask, because those are the masks that work at base World of Horror in general for custom content. And then I switched back to Traumatized, but I didn't switch the word item to status, so... you know what? Let's fight this just to see. Second mystery, 13% Doom, by the way. Yeah, we two-shot this boss, so that's really cool. However, no, you two-shot that boss, which is a lot faster than normally 4 or 5 turns in that boss, because it has like 36 HP or above if you're taking it as a later mystery. But you get the point. Anywho, what do we want to do next? It's Orphan or Sheba's. You know what? Let's fight Sheba's as well. Why not? Especially with the brick, we should be able to two-shot this boss. And if we can't still two-shot it with the brick, I really should just take a another empty bottle, because I have a bunch of them. That being said, I could also do a thing. We also have a bunch of flare gun stuff. But yeah, it's sad I don't have a 4th item slot, because I accidentally have this Traumatized again. To reiterate, I mentioned it recently, I'll mention it again here. If you give a character a custom item, either through an event or their own Ito file, if you give them an item that doesn't exist in-game, like say you just type in like 5 Zs, because that does not exist as an item in World of Horror, it ends up being dead weight. You can't click on it or interact with it at all. You can't even discard it. So what ends up happening is, yeah, it's just there and it's taking up an item slot. Which, I mean, all things considered, we can just treat this as extra difficulty. But I specifically used that quote-unquote bug, but turned it into a mechanic for one of my custom characters, in which she has an item that she will not part with from her inventory, or her person, if you want to immerse yourself in it. But, again, the point I was trying to make... Okay, good, we didn't get Sharpening Stone. That would have made me feel worse. We could have just re-rolled there as well, but because we have... I think even just using the flare gun... Is this an Eldritch? No, it's a beast. Doesn't matter, because we get to do this. Now we take 4 stamina damage for it, but hey. Keeping in mind that if we took 6 stamina damage, that would be a lot more HP. So, and it would also be... It would also really, really be in my best interest to two-turn a boss like that. Again, that's assuming Blood Frenzy is working correctly. I don't feel like it is for some reason. I don't know why, but anywho. Orphan we go. But if nothing else, yes, I did want to have fun and immerse myself by giving her her own axe. If you didn't know, in the game that she came from, this is pretty much the axe she uses during gameplay. So, it doesn't look one-to-one, but I do my best. I do my best. Even if you end up tracing, because I've tried tracing before for World of Horror custom content, and let me tell you right now, you still need to do a lot of touching up. It still, obviously, tracing still makes your job a lot easier, but just to let you know, it will look weird. In fact, I think some of my characters still look that way, because although I didn't trace one-to-one, I did try to follow basically the style of whatever character, so on and so forth, of whatever I was making, whether it's an event CG, whether it's an item CG, whether it's a, if we're talking long time ago, character sprites for home, the back during looking at the mystery, even chibi forms. You'll notice that they look very... You'll notice, because most of the time, there'll be something like staircasing, there'll be jagged pixel holes, which really shouldn't exist. So you still basically have to go over with a fine pixel comb and make sure everything looks the way it does. Unless, of course, you have your own style, then do whatever you want. Of course, you'll be doing your own style in pixel form for those who are artists, but hey. Also, we don't have 5 keys yet. I don't know why I'm trying to enter the lighthouse. Sharpening Stone, please. Thank you. And off we go. But again, don't let it be said that I'm trying to downplay the effect of this axe and making the run a lot easier. In general, your runs will be a lot easier with any kind of weapon that does at least 9 to 8, even 8 damage, although that's kind of the break point. But if it does 9 damage or above, even as no matter how slow it is, as long as you do prep strong, it's a very powerful weapon to have. Being able to two-shot 95% of the enemies in World of Horror, approximately, is very, very, very powerful. The other half of that is event RNG. Events RNG and being able to choose based on your own memory, but again, I do think World of Horror does have some complexity to it, but I will admit that it's probably not on the top. Over 50% of games will still be harder to play than World of Horror. That being said, the fun factor in World of Horror, I believe, is definitely above 50%. Keep in mind, this is mostly World of Horror is mostly supposed to be a love letter to Junji Ito. Yes, I'm using the exact vocabulary because I want to quote exactly, but as we may take for all damage, and probably even more, what I'm trying to essentially say is we have slower attacks. Oh, our attacks are too slow now. When did that happen? Actually, I'm curious. Let me combo break myself. All offensive actions are slightly slower. Did we get that twice, or is it just once? It was probably just once, right? Because that would even oh no, 1.32 times multiplier. Oh boy. If you go for it at a regular attack, that'll still be great. It's just that we're taking -4 all for it. So pain. Yeah. And that's Aaron. So, what was I talking about just before my action speed just completely bamboozled me? Yeah, I don't remember at the moment. Oh, yeah. World of Horror is definitely still... the fact that it strived to be a love letter and still is a very good game on top of everything else, that sounds a bit condescending, but I swear it's a compliment, at least, if nothing else. But light... Let me just make sure I can survive this. I know I don't have enough reason. I mean, we have 50 Doom. What am I looking... I just looked at how much Doom we have. It's just that I want to try and be cool and win the game with as little Doom as possible, but meh. Or with... Doom being as low as possible, but meh. So yeah, without further ado, again, let me know if you have any ideas, so on and so forth. I do want to get back to game development. I just wanted to make some perm stuff for this character, really just the item, but you get the point. I've done what I did, and we can move on. Oh my goodness, all of these status effects, by the way. It doesn't really matter, because we do so much damage, even with the prep attack, but the point is that, yeah, it's still very painful. So, again, taking damage at all is normally not good. In fact, I could have desperate struggled, but it's because we do so much damage. Again, one last time, this is a very powerful weapon. If not at the same level, more powerful than the katana. But yeah, without further ado, not going to take much more of your time. If you have anything to say, you know what to do. If you want to support me, you know what to do. If you don't want to support me, you know what to do. Just as one extra addition, which I say sometimes, I am trying to develop my own games, usually in RPG Maker, so if I do make commercial projects, feel free to support me monetarily there. But otherwise, that's the self-advertising phase over. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye!